For years, the world thought they had Filipinos all figured out. Hardworking, humble, reliable, but never world-shifting. Then, out of nowhere, we shattered every expectation. Even South Korea, the country of tech titans and global empires, didn't see this coming because what just happened isn't a small win. It's a Filipino earthquake that's rewriting the world script. From Seoul to Silicon Valley, everyone's asking the same thing. How did the Philippines do it? And what's coming next? If you're interested in this topic, hit the like button, subscribe, and type interested in the comments, and I will give you a heart. For decades, Filipinos have been underestimated, quietly doing the jobs no one wanted, building the dreams other nations took credit for, and smiling through storms that would have broken anyone else. The world loved our service, our songs, our smiles, but they never saw our strategy. They never saw the slow, silent buildup of a nation that refused to quit, until now. Because something just happened that made even South Korea, a country known for efficiency, discipline, and billion-dollar innovations, stop and say, wait, the Philippines did what? See, South Korea's success story has always been the blueprint, from war-torn rubble to world-class empire. But recently, something flipped. Reports from OECD and the Asian Development Bank 2025 reveal that the Philippines just outperformed South Korea in 3 key global indicators: human capital resilience, cultural export growth, and cross-border workforce integration. That's a complicated way of saying this. While the rest of the world's workforce is shrinking, Filipinos are rising. Here's where it gets wild. South Korea's economy is facing its biggest demographic crisis in modern history. Fewer births, fewer workers, fewer innovators. But the Philippines? It's exploding with talent, young, global, multilingual, and ready to fill the gaps others can't. The Korean think tanks are now calling Filipinos Asia's unstoppable force. They're not exaggerating. From hospitals in Seoul to startups in Busan, Filipinos are quietly keeping the Korean machine alive. But here's the twist. We're not just filling positions anymore, we're leading them. Take Dr. Angela Reyes, a Filipino scientist working in Daejeon's biotechnology hub. Her research on regenerative medicine just got patented under a joint Korean-Filipino project, the first of its kind. Her discovery? A cell rejuvenation process using tropical enzymes from Philippine coral reefs. South Korean media called it the future of healing. Filipinos called it homegrown brilliance finally recognized. This is what the world didn't see coming. We're not competing to survive anymore. We're competing to define what's next. And it's not just science. South Korea's entertainment industry, one of the world's biggest cultural exports, is now leaning on Filipino creativity. Producers from K-drama studios are hiring Filipino directors and writers to build cross-cultural shows. Why? Because the world wants real stories, not perfect ones, and Filipinos know how to tell stories that break your heart and heal it at the same time. Even the Korean music scene is changing. You've probably seen it. A growing wave of Filipino-Korean collaborations dominating YouTube, Spotify, and TikTok. From BGYO to SB19, Filipino artists are breaking the algorithm. The world used to listen to K-pop. Now it's listening to Phil-pop. And the Korean press is admitting it. One columnist from the Korea Times wrote, "Filipinos have the one thing our nation forgot: soul." That line hit harder than they expected, because in a world obsessed with perfection, Filipinos remain gloriously, painfully human, and that humanity is becoming the world's greatest currency. But here's where it gets personal. While the rest of the world is watching in awe, Filipinos know the price of that success. The years abroad, the families left behind, the sleepless nights spent building someone else's empire. That's why this victory feels different. It's not about revenge, it's about recognition. We've always been global. We've just never been given the microphone. And speaking of recognition, this is where you, the viewer, come in. Because if you're watching this right now, it means you care. You believe that Filipino stories deserve to be told loudly, proudly, globally. But here's the truth. YouTube doesn't promote voices like ours without your help. So if you believe in what this channel stands for, truth, pride, and global Filipino excellence, consider joining our membership. It's not charity, it's partnership. Your support helps us create more content that speaks the truth the world refuses to say out loud. If you've ever wanted to be part of something bigger than views and likes, this is it. Because every membership means more stories told, more lives impacted, more truth revealed. Now, back to the story. Even South Korea's economists are scratching their heads. According to the Hankyoreh Economic Review, the Philippines is the only country in Asia with a double advantage: rapid youth expansion and global influence through diaspora integration. Translation: our people are everywhere, not just working, but transforming industries from within. Filipino engineers are running construction projects in Incheon. Filipino nurses are managing hospital wings in Daegu. Filipino creatives are directing ad campaigns for global brands in Seoul. The Korean business world calls it unprecedented. We call it overdue. But the real shocker, Filipino leadership. In 2025 alone, over 3,200 Filipino professionals were promoted to executive or senior management roles in South Korea, a record-breaking 42% increase from the previous year. That's what no one saw coming. The same workforce that was once treated as background labor is now running the show. One viral headline from Yonhap News said it best: "The Filipino era has begun." But this isn't about pride, it's about purpose. Because every Filipino rise tells a global story. The world underestimated us, and we outworked the odds. So when South Korea looks surprised, don't blame them. They were looking at the old Philippines, the one that smiled quietly and carried the world on its back. What they didn't expect was the new Philippines, the one that builds, leads, and refuses to stay invisible. We're not asking to be noticed anymore, we're making it impossible not to. Type proud Pinoy in the comments if you believe this is just the beginning, because what's coming next isn't just another comeback, it's the rebirth of a nation the world forgot to fear. By 2025, something unthinkable happened in Seoul, a quiet revolution led not by politicians, not by corporations, but by Filipinos. And the world's media barely caught up. South Korea, the land of automation and perfection, suddenly found itself facing an uncomfortable truth. For all its technology, it still runs on Filipino humanity. That's not sentiment, that's fact. When the Korean Ministry of Employment released its quarterly report this year, it shocked the country. Over 33% of South Korea's essential labor sectors, healthcare, manufacturing, education, and logistics, are now sustained by Filipino professionals. That's 1 in 3 jobs in key national infrastructure. Think about that for a second. Every flight that takes off, every hospital bed that's cared for, every elderly person smiling in Seoul's assisted living homes, there's a Filipino behind it. And South Korea didn't see it coming. At first, it looked like a coincidence. A few Filipino workers here, a handful of teachers there. But when Korean sociologists dug into the data, they found something deeper. A pattern of excellence too consistent to ignore. Filipinos weren't just doing the job, they were redefining it. Let's take Korea's elderly care sector, for example. With a population aging faster than any in Asia, South Korea's nursing crisis became national news. By 2024, hospitals were losing local staff due to exhaustion. Then came the Filipino caregivers, thousands of them, fluent in compassion, patience, and dignity. Within a year, satisfaction ratings in elderly care centers jumped 42% and turnover rates plummeted. Korean officials called it the Filipino effect. But here's the thing, what Koreans call effect, Filipinos call normal. Because while other nations teach efficiency, Filipinos live empathy. That's the secret South Korea couldn't engineer. Machines can follow instructions, only people with heart can heal. Even Korean universities are noticing. Seoul National University just introduced a new cross-cultural leadership program featuring Filipino work ethics as a case study. Let that sink in. A country that once sent experts to train Filipinos is now sending students to learn from them. And it's not just about labor, it's about influence. The Philippines is quietly reshaping South Korea's social and economic systems from the inside. The global press may not be reporting it, but Korean companies are in internal memos, boardroom discussions, and recruitment strategies. One CEO of a major Korean shipping company said it best in an interview. Filipinos don't just fix problems, they stabilize chaos. They're not a workforce, they're an anchor. It's poetic, but it's also data-backed. According to the OECD 2025 Workforce Harmony Index, Filipino-dominated teams in South Korea report the lowest conflict rates and the highest cooperation levels among multinational teams in Asia. That's not luck, that's leadership in disguise. You see, the world underestimated the power of soft skills, kindness, patience, adaptability, until the hard system started collapsing. And now, those very skills are saving billion-dollar economies. But what makes this more fascinating is how quietly it all happened. No speeches, no parades, just Filipinos doing what they've always done. Showing up, giving their all, and asking for nothing but respect in return. Yet, behind every smiling Filipino in South Korea, there's a story, a sacrifice, a purpose. Like Ramon de la Cruz, a Filipino mechanical engineer who works at a Hyundai plant in Ulsan. One day, when a major assembly line malfunctioned, the entire production halted. Millions of won-in losses every hour. Ramon, calm and collected, redesigned the faulty circuit on the spot. Production resumed in under 40 minutes. That fix is now patented by Hyundai. But when reporters asked him how he felt about saving the company, he said, "I just did what I was trained to do. Work hard, work right." That humility, that's the Filipino signature. And South Korea can't replicate it. Even the Korea Economic Daily admitted that Filipino resilience is the most valuable export of the Philippines. More than minerals, more than electronics, more than tourism. That's not flattery, that's truth, measured in productivity and loyalty. But here's the bigger story. This isn't just about helping South Korea function. It's about Filipinos influencing how South Korea thinks. Because for all its progress, Korea's been struggling with burnout, isolation, and social disconnection. Meanwhile, Filipinos brought something Seoul forgot it needed: warmth. The Korean Work and Life Balance Institute reported in early 2025 that companies employing Filipino staff experienced a 28% drop in employee anxiety and a 19% rise in overall workplace satisfaction. You can't code that, you can't buy that, you can only live it. And that's why the whole world is watching now. Because what started as a workforce exchange is evolving into something much deeper, a cultural awakening. South Korea built the machines, the Philippines built the meaning. And the world is realizing, without meaning, machines don't matter. That's the paradox of progress. You can automate everything, but not heart. Filipinos are redefining success not through domination, but through connection. It's not about winning, it's about healing the systems that forgot what humanity feels like. So when South Korea looks at the Philippines now, it's not pity, it's partnership. Mutual respect forged through shared purpose. And if you think this is just about South Korea, think again. The US, Canada, Japan, they're all studying the same trend. The Filipino model works everywhere because wherever we go, we don't just adapt to the system, we improve it. We're not chasing the world anymore. The world is chasing the Filipino formula. Type respect in the comments if you believe the world finally owes the Philippines not just gratitude, but acknowledgement. Because the future isn't made in the richest labs or the tallest towers. It's being built quietly in the hands of Filipinos, one heart, one shift, one miracle at a time. Something's happening right now, something so big that even South Korea, the nation that defined discipline, innovation, and industrial genius, is pausing to take notes from the Philippines. Because let's face it, this isn't just another feel-good moment. This is a global shift in power. For the first time in modern history, the world isn't talking about Filipinos as workers, they're talking about Filipinos as architects of stability, the silent backbone holding together the chaos of collapsing economies. And it's not hype, it's measurable. According to the World Economic Forum's 2025 Workforce Adaptability Report, Filipino professionals now top the global list for emotional intelligence, crisis management, and multicultural leadership. South Korea came in third. The reason? Koreans build systems, Filipinos build relationships. And in 2025, relationships are currency. See, when the pandemic hit years ago, most nations doubled down on automation. They replaced people with programs. But the Philippines did something radical. We doubled down on humanity. We sent care workers when others sent robots. We built communities when others built firewalls. And now the world is realizing it's people who save economies, not algorithms. Even Bloomberg Asia recently ran a story titled "Filipino Workforce, the Heartbeat of Global Growth." They called us the most essential non-superpower workforce in history. That's not a compliment, that's a correction. Because while South Korea's factories were running on AI, Filipino-led teams were leading emergency operations, rebuilding logistics, and restoring production when systems failed. The Korea Logistics Institute found that Filipino supervisors improved efficiency by 29% across mixed teams. Not because they were trained to command, but because they knew how to connect. That's what Seoul didn't see coming. The Philippines didn't need to compete in technology to win. We competed in empathy, and we won without even trying. But here's where it gets even more powerful. The world isn't just impressed, it's dependent. The International Labor Organization quietly called Filipinos the world's stabilizers. That's not just poetic, it's prophetic. Because as aging nations lose workers, they're turning to the Philippines not as an option, but as a lifeline. And yet, here's the paradox. While the world respects us, our own systems back home are still catching up. Our heroes abroad still come home to broken infrastructure, low wages, and underfunded industries. That has to change, because the Filipino rise won't be complete until our country becomes worthy of the people who built its name abroad. We need to stop exporting brilliance and start investing in it. Imagine if the same Filipinos running Korean hospitals and Japanese factories came home to rebuild our healthcare and industries. Imagine if the Philippines wasn't just the world's workforce, but its next workshop of innovation. It's not a dream, it's a direction. Even South Korea knows it. Their Ministry of Education has started drafting partnership programs to send Filipino educators back to teach leadership principles. In Korea, think about that. The teacher has become the master. But that's where we, you, me, everyone watching come in. Because movements like this don't grow from headlines. They grow from unity. If you're watching this right now, I need you to know something. This channel isn't just storytelling, it's nation building. What we do here is document the Filipino rise that mainstream media still refuses to spotlight. And we can only keep doing it with your help. YouTube's algorithm doesn't favor small creators, especially those speaking truth that threatens outdated narratives. That's why we built this channel independently with no corporate funding, no political ties, no agenda except pride and truth. So if you want this message, our message, to reach the world, consider joining our channel membership. Your membership keeps this Filipino voice alive. It funds research, editing, and content creation that gives our kababayans the platform they deserve. This isn't a donation, it's empowerment. Every membership is a declaration the Filipino voice will not be silenced. We don't just want a trend, we want to transform. And with your support, we will. Now, back to the bigger picture. Because while South Korea is just realizing the value of Filipino brilliance, the world is already moving towards something even bigger, a Filipino century. That's right, economists are calling the next 30 years the Filipino era of global growth. Why? Because every global power is aging. The US, Japan, and Korea are losing workers faster than they can replace them. But the Philippines? We're young, connected, fluent in global culture. We're the bridge between East and West, the balance between progress and compassion. And the world is finally catching on. In fact, KBS World News reported that Filipino integration may redefine South Korea's labor identity. Imagine that, a nation of 52 million looking to a nation of 115 million for survival. But this time, it's not about servitude, it's about synergy. Filipinos aren't just working in South Korea anymore, we're co-authoring its future. Here's the kicker. The same Korean economists who once described the Philippines as low-value labor are now using words like irreplaceable, vital, and strategic. That's not an apology, that's an awakening. And if you're Filipino watching this, understand this truth. The world may have doubted you, but it never forgot you. Because every act of kindness, every late night shift, every dream whispered in a foreign country has added up to this, a moment of undeniable recognition. We've shattered expectations, and now the challenge is to sustain it. That's why this movement matters. That's why your voice, your support, and your belief in this cause matter more than ever. Because what started as an overlooked nation is now becoming a global compass, showing the world what success looks like with soul. So let South Korea be shocked. Let the world watch. Let every headline, every statistic, every skeptic see what happens when a people who were once ignored decide to rise together. This isn't just history being made, it's history being corrected. Type vision in the comments if you believe the Filipino story is far from over, because this time it's not just about being seen, it's about being remembered. Before you scroll away, pause for a second and really think about what you just heard. The world, from South Korea to the United States, is finally admitting what we've always known: the Filipino spirit is the engine that keeps it running. But here's the truth no one says out loud. Recognition means nothing without representation. We built nations, we healed strangers, we powered industries, and yet our stories still go untold. That's why this channel exists, to document the rise of the modern Filipino, not as laborers, but as leaders of humanity. But here's the part you may not know. We can't do it alone. The more this message spreads, the more resistance it faces. Algorithms bury what empowers. So if you've ever watched one of our videos and thought, finally, someone's saying it, then you're already part of the movement. Now make it official. Join our channel membership, not as a fan, but as a founder of something bigger, a global Filipino voice that refuses to be silenced. Every membership keeps this light burning, keeps this truth alive, and keeps our people seen. You'll get exclusive updates, behind the scenes stories, and early access to our most powerful videos. But more importantly, you'll be helping us build a media space where Filipino excellence isn't the exception, it's the standard. This is your moment to stand for something real, because history doesn't just happen, people make it happen. So hit that join button, type vision in the comments, and let's show the world what unity with purpose really looks like. This isn't the end of the story, it's the beginning of our legacy. Because when Filipinos rise, the world rises with us.